you're thinking about the alignment that should happen to this car in terms of, let me just keep on muting us. Please mute yourselves, keep yourselves muted so they can have a clear recording for those who will be catching up later. So when you're thinking about ourselves living the aligned life, it's just that aspect of the, do you feel like you have speed in life? Oh my goodness, this one is, oh, okay, it's gone off. Do you feel like you have the speed you need in your life? And it's because some of us know, like there was a season that you are very optimized, you are fast, you are consistent, you are. And honestly, since the COVID time, I think many people have become aware, like in terms of how that season probably brought out mental health struggles that we didn't know we had. In terms of probably you keep on just feeling this vibe of I don't know what, but I just feel like I'm slow. And I've had that feedback from so many of my clients in terms of just being aware that I don't have the speed I would want, or at least I don't have the speed that I had. And of course, we've also gone through so many bumps in our lives in terms of sometimes even hurtful relationships, lost opportunities. We've gone through grief and loss. All those things potentially slow us down. And so as we do our reflection this morning, just be aware of the spaces where you're feeling like your life is not in alignment. So let's breathe now. So you can close your eyes and then breathe in and then breathe out. Of course, this may not be comfortable if you're walking or driving. Yeah, but those of us who are probably settled a bit, you can do this. If you can't, it's fine. But you just want to do a bit of a reflection. Maybe you can just think about it. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And so I want you to keep your eyes closed and I want you to scan through your life and just be aware of places where you don't feel aligned right now, or even in the recent past. Think about even people you're not feeling aligned with. Yeah, probably you have difficult relationships, people you've fallen out with, people that probably you feel there's a lot of tension around them and around your connection with them. Just be aware of those places where you are feeling like I am not aligned here. And also think about the places you're not aligned in terms of maybe things that you desire in your life and they're not in place yet. Those can also be places where you are struggling with alignment. It may also be probably things you are hoping for in terms of your dreams, your desires, and you're just feeling like there's no alignment. Even when you look back at your life, do you feel like this is where you'd always wanted to be? You know, you remember even when you were a younger girl and you had all these dreams and desires, was this what you're looking forward to? Is this it for you? And even as you think about your achievements, your desires, your needs, your plans, do you feel aligned? And of course, also when you're thinking about alignment, what is missing in your life right now? What do you feel like is the missing piece in your puzzle, in this chess board? What are the missing pieces? And as you think about your alignment, even who do you need? What kind of support do you need in your life? What kind of help do you need in your life to get aligned? Because some of us have a picture of what alignment looks like, but you don't know how to get there. And sometimes you need someone, you need something, you need some insights and some resources, you need some understanding, some wisdom. So who do you need in your life to live the aligned life? Where don't you feel aligned in your life right now, and what can you do about it? What are the bold moves that you need to take even as you think about get your ball back? And sometimes thinking about this can actually bring that sense of discomfort. You know, you just feel anxious and it's fine. We are holding space for that this morning because that is where we are meeting today and the other Mondays to be able to trust God for alignment in those places. And so breathe in, breathe out, breathe in again, breathe out. Awesome. And so you can open your eyes. I will and really encourage you. You remember the way I was saying, these are usually coaching sessions, and sharing is very helpful. It also helps you get some bit of free personal coaching as you share what's happening in your life. Yeah. And so I would want to encourage you, even this morning, if you're able to just share. Of course, our cameras are off and all. You can just unmute your mic and probably answer this question. What are some of the places you don't feel aligned in your life right now or in the recent past? And you can even share, what does lack of alignment feel like this morning, even as you become aware of those places. So what are some of the places where you're like, yeah, but I don't feel alignment here. As we do this reflection, I'm aware these places are not perfect in my life. Probably this is not what I had hoped for, or these are the places where there is discomfort. There is probably some level of just misalignment. And so who wants to go first? Anybody who wants to share? So welcome Audrey, Busibori, Caro, Eva, Flo, Grace, Jennifer, Oko, Rose, Rachel, Karibu, Sela, Stella, Tracy, and Rachel again. Yeah, good to see you, ladies. Thanks for making time for this. Yeah, so anyone wants to go? What are some of the places you don't feel aligned in your life right now or in the recent past? What is it for you?
Good morning, Pups.
Oh, good morning, Carol. Yeah, thanks for stepping up.
Okay. I just noticed while I was planning for the year that I have not even, or rather, I hit some bumps end of last year financially. And I began, before even I could look at the figures and look at some of the places where I wanted to be, I began to feel an anxiety about the future. I began to feel like this, like I wanted to have been at a certain place with some investments in place. In fact, I had started a very nice plan and it was working. I had consistency. I hit a bump and I withdrew. And so I started feeling just anxious, apprehensive. What do I do? And I think I had to again sit and have that conversation again. Okay, let me put the figures down. This is where things are off. What do I do? And so on. So I have not started to execute where I want to go, but at least just setting like a picture of this is where I want to be and this is what went wrong. Just like you're saying now, identifying has dealt with the feelings of fear and anxiety. Yeah, because I was feeling like the floor is being taken away from me, you know, like, oh my God, what am I going to step into in the next step? And I'm not waiting for anybody to come and do this. So what do I do and what information do I need? In fact, that's another thing I did. Just getting information, investments, savings. What can I do with what I have? How can I get out of here? Yeah, so those has been my thoughts. So when I saw your post about alignment, and this is just the name just stood out for me. I love this topic. It just jumped out of the page for me. Alignment, yes, even before I had thought about which areas do I feel misaligned. So even end of last week, I kept thinking about it. Which areas? And financial is one of those places for me.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and of course, Carol, when you think about it, it's just that part of awareness in terms of some of us probably are struggling with anxiety, but are not able to pinpoint exactly where. And I love the way you are aware that finances is the place for me. That is the place of anxiety. And you can imagine how much that probably place that is not aligned affect everything else, because it can kill joy in other areas in our lives that are probably working. You know, sometimes when I'm worried about money, I can start worrying about relationships. Maybe I can have even more conflicts with my children because I'm tense about money. You know, I can start probably avoiding people or overindulging into people. I can also probably start just living in that place where emotionally I'm always having this high or this low. And sometimes when you're able to recognize exactly where, like just knowing it's finances, of course, there's that part where Carol is able to associate anxiety with finances. it means that that is how it's affecting her emotionally, or at least that is how she's responding to it, in terms of it affects you emotionally in this way. Yeah. I don't know whether anyone else wants to share. Before that, I can probably read Grace has shared on the chat. Yeah, thanks, Grace, for sharing. She's saying, my mic is not aligned. Yeah, that mic needs alignment. That is why we are here, for my aligned life, or the aligned life. My life is completely not aligned, and I am too slow. My personal progress is too slow. I needed to have completed my PhD studies 2 years ago, and I'm yet to complete. I have no drive. It's stressing me and makes my relationship with my friends strained. I feel like they don't understand me. Wow. Thanks for sharing this so vulnerably, Grace. And there's such a sense of frustration in this situation. And you can also see whatever Grace has shared, it's an alignment that is probably on her progress in life, in terms of this is something to do with her intellectual, but then it's affecting her social relationship, it's affecting her emotions in terms of, she's saying, I am stressed. And of course, also it's affecting her relationship with her friends in terms of just how a lack of alignment starts affecting everything else. And it's like this car that is on the picture, when probably one space is not working, no, one side of the wheel is not working, then it starts affecting the other three, because the four of them needs to be aligned for this car to be stable, for this car to have speed, for this car to have that stability and momentum it needs. And so we take our cars for wheel alignment because you're just like, ninasikia kelele, sijui kuna venye hii wheel, hii gari haiko stable, and then they align. They will just be measuring the alignment. They will see which one is out of order, and then they will bring them back together. And when we started, I was sharing that song that has really been my pickup in terms of a season where I was totally feeling misaligned because I was going through a difficult transition. Life was hard. I was hurting, and of course it was something to do with probably my professional life. But then I was employed in a job. And of course, things didn't really go well the way I'd anticipated, but God had a better plan, because looking back right now and seeing how God aligned my life through that season and how he changed my heart, how he probably made me to start thinking and seeing myself, I feel like I'm in such a good space. And of course, I feel like God really changed my heart, dealt with some things that I didn't even know were not aligned in place, because sometimes God is working on us more than he's working on our situations. And so just that part of my aligned life is being able to experience an all-round life. Anyone else wants to share? Probably one more person and then we go on. Anyone? Yeah, welcome, Rosemary. Good to see you. And Patricia, karibuni. So we are answering the question on the screen in terms of what are some of the places you don't feel aligned. Yeah, let's keep on sharing on the chat as well. Stella is here on the chat. Thanks for sharing, Stella. She's saying, my profession or career and purpose. I have been looking for a job for a long time and I feel a loss of time and unseen opportunity that I didn't see. Bouncing back feels like a mountain. Yeah, Stella, totally feel you, especially if this is a season that has been prolonged, a wilderness that has been prolonged. And when we were doing the reflection, that is why I was also thinking, like, who do you need? What kind of insight and help do you need to be able to get out of this probably season, this wilderness, this situation that is not changing or transitioning? I've actually come to realize sometimes I also need someone who can help me think and see things in a fresh way in my life, And that is why sometimes we go for coaching, we go for therapy, so that you can be able to understand and get insight on exactly what is happening. Does anyone understand what I'm going through? Because sometimes when you're going through this difficult season, it's possible that the people who are around us can actually make it worse by agitating us, by probably, just calling us out, making us feel inadequate, feeling like we're not trying hard enough. But sometimes you may sit down with someone who will ask you helpful questions and probably help you see some things that it's like when you, my goodness, there's so much noise. I don't know whether someone has come in and they've not muted their mics. Yeah, please mute yourselves as you come in. Thank you. So I was saying this, it's like when you're painting a house and then probably you've missed a corner. And then someone else will come and they're like, yeah, by the way, uje paint pale vizuri. So sometimes we are always missing corners in our lives, even in the misalignment, especially when it's prolonged, when it's also too much incapacitating in a way you're not functioning at all. Like personally, even during that season, I went for therapy. I really went for therapy and just sitting there with the therapist. And sometimes she would be like, Pups, you're just in a wrong environment. You are just a square peg in a round hole. When I listen to you, as I look at you, I just feel like, have you thought like you might actually have a better life not being there? And I'm like, how? How? And then later it all made sense and it all fell into place. And of course, it was not easy, but just getting that support and getting someone who is looking at everything in my life from an outsider's perspective, someone outside looking in, they're able to probably see the places I'm missing and the corners. Yeah, thank you, Stella, for sharing. And I'm hoping that these sessions we shall be having will be insightful, will be helpful, so that you can be able to see the corners we are missing and the spots we are missing in our lives. All right. And so when you think about your aligned life, we are going to start our conversation here. And I want to start by sharing a bit about myself. And so this is Pups before alignment. Yeah, or before things were falling in place, before I have probably I had figured things out. This is what was happening in my life. So this is Pups, and I love sharing this photo of myself as a 2-year-old. And my slogan is from Africa for Africa. I'm really passionate about our continent and, of course, about what God is doing here. And this is Pups BC. First of all, I had miracle of eyesight in terms of I was this child who was almost going blind by the time I was 2. And the doctor who saw me in Eldoret, by then we were leaving those sides, was like, huyu mtoto sidhani kama ataona after 2 years, akifikisha miaka 4 hivi atakuwa amepoteza macho. So when my mom was given a recommendation of, this is the school for the blind, this is where you can get a braille, this is where you'll get a white cane. And my mother was not even born again, but she had this crazy faith. So she went, I think that time, was it Benihin or Bonke that was coming to Eldoret? Kitambo, it's in the 80s. And then my mother took a handkerchief and took it to be prayed for. And then she came, she laid it on me. She was like, my daughter will never go blind. And isn't God amazing that I still see? Of course, I have eyesight challenges, probably around this season, it's actually been a bit more extreme. Of course, I'm getting treatment. I had cross-linking done on both of my eyes, where they just scrap it off because my cornea, one of my corneas was really bulging the right eye. And so I have this condition called keratoconus. Yeah, where the cornea is bulging and then it becomes a bit more blurred. So like the vision acuity of this one eye is 40%. And then this other one has a bit of a higher rating. Yeah, but just that space of feeling like it's such a miracle. Every time I remind myself, it's such a miracle because I really struggled with my eyesight growing up, even in high school. Sometimes I'll just not read during the preps because that light will really affect me at night. And so the miracle of eyesight is something that I always celebrate about my life in terms of whenever I look at things, I take them in with so much intensity. I love sunshine, sunset. I love sunrises. Like I usually see just the magic of God. I'm so glad I can be able to see this. When I look at people that I really love, people who are close to me, people I care about, even my family, I feel so grateful. And of course, I also grew up in a labeled and shamed personality. And so all these are places that I had to seek alignment over time in my life. And of course, it's because I was just this child who was out of socket in my family. And it just has to do with a personality. Like when I sat in a psychology class in 2007, and I was there learning about personality types and personality theories, I was like, my goodness, there was nothing wrong with me. I was just different. I was just a different kind of a child. There was nothing wrong with me. And then, of course, the other thing was below average performer. Yeah, like even when I was in primary school, high school, I was never this brilliant child that parents will get trophies and awards. I was always this child that somehow, I was just in between in terms of my performance. Wale watoto wenye wanasoma karibu wakunywe supu ya vitabu, but it's just not getting in. And then, of course, also having a depressive and being a depressive and suicidal teenager, especially when I was 15, I had suicide ideation and everything. And then later, just having purpose confusion after high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to start with my life. And that was also a very difficult season that I just had to go through. And I remember when I was 21, I really used to dread life. And I just used to feel like, there's so much darkness in my life. I don't feel like my life has direction or meaning. I used to feel like I really fear death around that time. Actually, when I look back at my life right now, I feel like I'm so happy with my life. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I'll just tell my friends, I just feel like I have lived my life. If today this was it, I'm so grateful. that God has helped me achieve all I have achieved and become all I've become. Like, I really feel grateful for the alignment in my life. And then 7 years, I also spent it seeking direction and clarity. That is why I'm very passionate in guiding people on purpose, clarity, and alignment, because that is an area I really struggled in terms of just trying so many things, trying to figure out what I'm good at or what I am gifted in or what I would enjoy doing. And I remember meeting a friend from college. We were in the safari rally last weekend. We went to Naivasha. And then I met a friend that we were in college with when I was doing IT. And she was like, "Hiya, yani you changed your career." And I was just telling him, I have never been so happy in my life. I am not really sure what I was doing IT. Of course, I use a lot of IT. Like, I do most of my graphics. I did my website. Like, I do those things like hobby because I really enjoy them and they just energize me. It's like my outlet of energy. Yeah, but looking back, I'm just like, God had a plan. But honestly, when I was doing IT, that is when I discovered all these passions I have in terms of I love mentorship. I love journeying with people. And last year, when I had my second book launch for Leading Generations, that is my second book, I remember Jeff just sharing his story. I met him when I was in KIST. So he was one of my mentees 20 years ago in terms of someone that I mentored, I journeyed with, I was checking on, I was loving on. And so when I look back at Jeff, Jeff, when he was sharing his story and was like, Pups used to come to the children's home and wash my clothes. I'm like, me. I can't even remember that, but probably that was part of my alignment journey in terms of God opening my eyes, giving me those little opportunities when I was in college to serve. And that is how I was able to discover that by the way, I'm not aligned. I'm not happy with this course of IT. I need to align back or at least figure out my space. And for me, from when I was a teenager, I knew I wanted to do social work or community development. I just knew I wanted to help people when I was younger. And so that outlet, and then now, of course, kitambo, there was no Google, colleges were not listed. So my mother is like, unataka kufanya nini? I'm like, nataka kufanya social work. Utafanya wapi sijui. She was like, kuna mtoto wa mama Njeri alienda KIST and she really did well. I think you should go there and also do IT. And then when you get a job, umesema unataka kufanya nini? Nataka kufanya social work. You will pay for yourself. And sure enough, I went and did IT. Later, I paid for myself my Bachelor of Arts. I did psychology, sociology, and religion. By then, I was so aligned in terms of I knew what I wanted. So it was easier to go for it. And of course, now going for it was also a long journey. Like, it took 16 years to come back to confidence and feel like I know what I want to do. I am aware of it. I am fully flowing into it. And of course, it also came through a crisis. If you've read my book, Reconfidence, which is about get your bold back, then you'll be able to catch up on all that conversation in terms of the purpose confusion I was going through. And of course, also the seasons I went through of transition that was so difficult. I remember I went into full-time coaching in 2013, which is now 11 years. And it was a difficult transition as well, because in those 11 years, it was a lot of darkness initially in terms of I had so much passion, I would go out, but sometimes I was not seeing quick results as much as I wanted. And then what has happened over the years? So currently, I'm a certified confidence and wellness coach. And then I've also authored 2 books. That is Reconfidence, which is about get your ball back, and Leading Generations. And then I'm also a graduate of Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, Psychology, and Religion. And I am also a graduate of Ecumenical Studies from the University of Geneva. Yeah, God opened for me this privilege to go and study in the Swiss. Yeah, that was in 2011. And then I've also done executive admin. I have 8 years experience and 2 years experience as HR coordinator. And of course, I've been a full-time coach for the past 11 years. And for the past 20 years, including probably the time I was a psychologist, I've managed to coach, counsel, have therapy sessions with over 20,000 people in terms of groups, in terms of individuals. And it's been such a joy and fulfillment just being able to build this up. And so far, I have around 12,000 hours of coaching in terms of my experience. Now, right now, it's 14,000 hours for the past 20 years. And it's been such a joy just listening to different stories and being able to journey with different people going through different situations. And of course, seeing God's restoration in their lives. And in terms of alignment stories, probably what comes to mind right now is just being able to sit down with Leah. That was in 2007. I remember when she came to my office. By then, I had an office in Hazina. She actually had 3 panic attacks on her way, where she will just lose sense of where she is. But she was with a very good friend called Lois, who was bringing her. And of course, it had taken a lot of convincing. Lois actually had to lie to her. I want you to take me to this place. I want to see this dress. And then, of course, she found herself in a session with me. And I remember her just looking at me and staring. And by then she was seeing a psychiatrist. She was on antidepressants. It was such a difficult situation that she was going through. And we had many conversations. We had many journeys. Later, she did all the programs I do, but then we were doing Arise. And later she came and even volunteered to help. She will be in retreats, like she will pay the retreats and pay, like come for the same retreat, different seasons. So she's like season 5, amekuja retreat, season 6. Now that is a different class. She will still attend and come for the retreat. And later, just looking at her aligned life right now, she's first of all a life coach like myself, because she discovered she also has a passion for helping people. The other thing about her, she also went ahead and did psychology. She also had this passion and dream of just dressing up people. So she also started her boutique. And when I look at her, I am just like, God is a miracle worker. These are some of the beautiful stories of grace, of just seeing her come back to her element. She was in a very abusive marriage. And one of the things is that when you're living an aligned life, it doesn't mean that everything in your life becomes perfect, because you are not in charge of other people. You're only in charge of yourself. And so for her, looking at her and just seeing her find this alignment where it doesn't frustrate her anymore, she's actually become more helpful, more positive, more supportive to the husband over time, in terms of now realizing that, no, you need to work on yourself. You need to get your act together and all that. And of course, that is one story of so many stories. I think I have tons and tons of stories of transformation, seeing God just do different things and aligning women's lives as we work together. And so I would just leave it at that, because we only have 1 hour. And so the question that we started with was, how do you feel? Yeah, when you feel in alignment, it means that probably you feel a bit of a sense like my ducks are on a row. And then when you're feeling out of alignment, of course, there are those ducks that are going ahead. Some of them are dragging behind. And when you are doing the reflection, it's for you to just know what is in place, what is not in place. And of course, what is not in place, it's something that is really speeding up in my life in a way I feel out of control, or something that is really slowing down in my life in a way I feel like it's dragging me behind. And to just be aware of those places, just the way Caro said, it's just powerful. It's just powerful to just be able to know, what, I'm struggling on this area. I'm struggling on this area. You're able to pinpoint. You're able to know where the pain is in your body. You're able to know where it's aching. You're able to know where you're stuck. You're able to know where it's not making progress and where it's not moving. How do you feel? And so this is the April roadmap in terms of the spaces we are hoping to achieve. And so the introduction is today, and then we shall be looking at, are you slave or free, in terms of even how you show up in your life, how you work, how you probably serve. And of course, this program is ideal for people who are in employment, or you're also in business. You'll be able to find so much insights and direction for some of the places in your life. And then, of course, the right sets you need, we shall be looking at that on session 3. And then session 4 and 5 will actually happen in a retreat. So we'll encourage you to consider signing up. We shall have a retreat, and it shall be a half day somewhere on Kiambu Road. Yeah, and of course, it will be costing you 3,000. So I'll encourage you to start planning for that towards the end of the month. It will be on the last Saturday of this month. And then you'll also need to find your sweet spots. Now, these 2 we will handle during the retreat. And then, of course, the Pro Bold 3 sessions webinar will have this later. But then finding your sweet spot, and of course, just having the life alignment conversation. And of course, it's very practical, because it's a coaching engagement where you will be able to create a roadmap for your life, probably work on a vision board, so that you can have clarity and direction on what exactly you want for yourself. And today we are talking about alignment, and alignment is this state of being in agreement or cooperation with a party, cause, or principle. And so everything is in agreement, everything is cooperating in your life. And then, of course, it's also the proper or desirable relation of parts of component of a system or device. So you are a system, and so you have different components, and all those places have relationship. So just having all those components aligned and working together. And Matthew chapter 6, verse 10 is actually the scripture I was thinking about when I was creating this conversation, in terms of Jesus teaching his disciples to pray. And then he will say, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So that is actually what alignment looks like, in terms of, I am living in this kingdom. And of course, when you're thinking about your kingdom come, it means there is that part of you are in dominion, you are in your element. And of course, everything as it is in heaven, it is on earth. Whatever God has planned for me, whatever God desires for me, whatever I see. Oh, let me keep on muting us as we come in. whatever I see and whatever I probably God had in store for me, had in mind for me, there's that alignment in terms of as it is in heaven, it is on earth. That is what alignment looks like. And I want us to assess ourselves quickly in these areas in terms of how you're doing right now. This is one of the most powerful tools I use in my coaching. I've seen it transform lives. I've seen people find clarity and direction through this. And so the assessment zones is an acronym of SPICES. And so in SPICES, it's looking at the different areas of our lives. And I hope you brought your notebook. Like we said, in coaching sessions, you need a notebook, you need a pen, just keep on writing different things. I may say so many things that are not on these slides. And by you being able to write down what is important to you or what you're hearing, what is alignment for you, what is insightful for you, then you're able to probably freeze it in moments, and then you can come back to it and ruminate over it further. And so SPICES is an acronym, and I want us to just assess ourselves in terms of how aligned are you in these 6 areas of your life, because everything in your life that is happening right now can fit into these 6 boxes. And so SPICES, number 1 is spiritual. So how are you doing spiritually? How is your relationship with God? Do you feel like there's alignment there? And it has nothing to do with, I am the women's leader, I sing in the choir, I'm the one who goes home with the key for the church, or maybe pastor is my best friend. No, nothing to do with that. It's just that part of, is God a space that is making sense to you right now? How do you feel about your relationship with God? Just the space of me, God, period. Is he someone that I probably feel is real to me? Is he someone that I probably feel hears me, sees me? Do I feel like probably there's that aspect of God that I don't understand? Sometimes when you're going through difficult seasons, I remember like myself in 2013, when I was going through that transition to come into full-time coaching, I was going through a very difficult time. I had a difficult pregnancy. The doctors were not sure the baby will make it. It was such a difficult time. And I think at some point I was actually feeling so disappointed with my life, so disappointed also with God because of the difficult season that I'm not seeing that curveball in my life. And it's possible for you to just come to that place and you just feel like, you know what, this space doesn't make sense to me right now. And it doesn't mean it will never make sense to you, but just acknowledging and holding space for yourself. Some of us have grown up with wrong theology, where you believe I should not be angry, I should not, even the way wanasemanga kazi ya Mungu itolewe wangu imakosa, and sometimes you're telling that to someone who has lost their baby. You're like, no, unajua Mungu anajua kenye anafanya. You are like, okay, lakini mimi sijui kenye anafanya, And sometimes those cliche statements that we usually hear when you're going through difficult seasons, they can actually make you feel guilty for not feeling okay or not feeling perfectly well, but at the same time, it's being able to hold space for yourself. And you're like, what am I feeling exactly right now? And when you read the book of Psalms, you'll actually see so many people who are able to express those difficult emotions in terms of, I'm disappointed, God, where are you? Why have you forsaken me? Like they're able to boldly put out those statements. And I love the way they always end up with worship, because there's a sense of acknowledgement and holding space. And then there's that place of feeling God's reassurance. And of course, seeing God's salvation eventually. So in a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing spiritually? How is the relationship with God? Some of us probably, you've gone through seasons of being indifferent about God. You go through that faith crisis where you doubt God and you even doubt he's real. You're like, is this something to control me? Probably I'm free of religion. We have people who live in that status nowadays. And just hold space for yourself. Be honest. How are you doing in your relationship with God? So in a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of how you are confident about all these aspects and conversations we are having, give yourself a rating. Are you also praying? Do you have a regular relationship with God in terms of you don't wait for Sundays to connect with God? You probably have a vibrant spiritual life. You understand God's will for your life. You sense God leading you and speaking to you and guiding you and comforting you and encouraging you. In terms of God is someone that is real to you. He's someone that is, someone you're in touch with. And of course, also when you think about this part of being spiritually bold is being able to also check out yourself and you're like, yeah, by the way, I feel like, I'm connected to God. I understand what he tells me, understand his promises. I know where I am with him. I am confident about my future with him. Just that space. We have spiritually bold women. For those of us who feel like probably you got a low score, this is a place you're struggling in. Yeah, just consider joining spiritually bold women. I hope all of us who are here are in the Confidence with Pups community. And if you look around in the groups, you will be able to see spiritually bold women. We usually meet to pray together. We have prayer breakfasts. We have school of prayer. So there are many places where you can find that alignment and find people who can journey with you. And then we go to peace physically. Do you feel good about how you look and about yourself? Are you eating well in terms of eating healthy, nutritious meals? Are you also moving your body in a way you enjoy? Are you sleeping enough? Do you feel like you have energy for activities of daily living? Do you have probably situations and conditions that are probably your health is struggling and you need some checkup? Some of us, we are so anxious about our health, and it's because we don't go to the doctor to get a clean bill of health, and so you're just worried because there's a pain here, there's a discomfort here, there's something happening here. And so that makes you probably feel like I'm not physically aligned. And of course, lack of physical alignment is in terms of I am not my ideal BMI. I am not feeling healthy. I don't have healthy habits in terms of how I live. I don't have mindful living, mindful eating, mindful watching. In terms of some of us probably are binge watching to late nights. And then when you wake up, you don't have energy, you're grumpy, you're emotionally low because also whatever you're watching is not life-giving. And so that is part of your physicality. And so give yourself a rating in a score of 1 to 10. How confident do you feel about your body, about your well-being, about your alignment? And of course, we also have physically bold woman where we are addressing these things. We continuously work on the 5 Fs in terms of food, fitness, friendships, focus, and faith. And of course, we just having those conversations, doing different challenges together so that you can just come to that place where you're feeling more in charge of your body. And then we go to intellectually. I is intellectual. Intellectually is how do you feel aligned in terms of your intellectual life? Your brilliance, your education, your academic, your professional life, your hobbies, your bucket list of the things you want to achieve in your life. Where do you feel like you are intellectually? Are you utilizing your brilliance in terms of you are so happy with where you are intellectually because you're probably doing a job that you love, a job that is rewarding, a job that is challenging you, and probably you are growing and making progress. Also intellectually, it's fulfilling for you just looking at your progression and your growth on your intellectual space. How are you feeling about it? And of course, intellectually, do you also feel like this is it for you? Do you have more potential that you're not utilizing? Do you have gifts that you're not bringing on the table? Do you have potential that you probably not explored in terms of you feel like you can be more, but you're not doing enough? And this was me when I was saying that when I was 21 years old, I was feeling so misaligned. I'm like, why did I do IT? I don't feel it. I've done different jobs. Do Mimi, I have scrubbed computers in Tarakilishi in Afya Center. But then I was working in a hardware shop. And then later I went and worked for a software company. Later I worked for a graphic design company. But all these times I would just feel like, no, this doesn't bring out the best in me. By the time I just called it a day, I was actually working as an assistant accountant. Assistant accountant, Pups. That is not even something I enjoyed. I was working for Muindi and my work was to reconcile the bill of quantities with the dispatch notes in terms of delivery notes of things that were taken to the site. It was a plumbing company. And I would just dread that job. I would be looking at the clock and I'm like, it's not even moving. When will 5:30 get here so that I can go home? And I remember by the time I was going to campus, when I left that job, it was such a relief. I didn't have a job, but I was so happy to leave, And then, of course, eventually I was working at APDK, and there I was still not doing what I loved because I wanted to work with people, with communities, but I was doing my work was to, give receipts, receive money in the workshop, all that. And sometimes I will be so happy to get to, by then I remember that is when they started the wheelchair marathon, no, the wheelchair and tricycle category. Like they started a persons with disability category in the Stanchart marathon. And I was in charge of that. My goodness, I really felt powerful. I just felt like this is what I would love to do every day. Go to the bank, get all those kits, distribute them, coordinate everyone, all the persons with disability coming from Bungoma and Timbuktu, all of them in Kenya, bringing them together, getting them to the Nyayo Stadium. Is it Nyayo? Yeah. That is Nyayo Stadium, the one that is on Mombasa Road, I think so. Just getting them there at 6 a.m. to Koapo, making sure they've had tea before they start racing, later celebrating them, doing the press with them, the press statement of the ones who won. Like that was such a life-giving space. And then once the wheelchair marathon is over, I would go back to my mundane task of receipts, reconcile the cash, go and explain to accounts what I did and submit all that money. Like it went back to the mundane. And then within 2 years, I was like, you know what? I think I'm done here. And by then I'd now finished my degree. I resigned again, like just living in that space of looking for alignment intellectually. until I found something that I'm very passionate about 11 years ago through very difficult circumstances, and I've really enjoyed doing this. And probably this is what I will do for the rest of my life. So where are you intellectually in terms of alignment in that space of your professional life, your career, your hobbies, your bucket list in terms of things you'll want to achieve in your life? Maybe there's a skill you'll want to learn, all that. And then let's go to commercial, and commercial has to do with your money. And money has nothing to do with probably how much you have in your account. It's your mindset on money. Do you think of yourself in terms of abundance or scarcity? Even how you spend money can actually reflect abundance or scarcity. And we have a financially bold woman. We shall be having some webinars with James. He's a financial advisor, and I'm married to him. I was actually like, please come and help me. First of all, I really love the way my husband has so much abundance in terms of how he sees money, how he spends money. I'm the spendthrift. He's the one who is financially bold in terms of, he always spreads his little to do so much, and just how he lives also with integrity in terms of how he handles money, how he gives, how he tithes, how he does all those things effortlessly, even through very difficult seasons in our marriage. You can just see how he lives out his financial integrity. I really admire that about him. And of course, he's also a financial advisor working with ICA. And so he'll be running some classes. So if you're not in the financially bold woman and that is an area you want to grow, please head there. There'll be some free webinars coming up later this month. And so commercially has to do with your money beliefs, because your beliefs are more powerful than actually your expenses. I've met many people who are earning even millions of money, but they always have scarcity. They lose that money as soon as they get it. And it's because of their mindset. That has to do with mindset more than just what is actually happening to you. And we shall be having those conversations there. So I want you to rate yourself in terms of when you think about money, does money make you feel anxious or restful? Do you feel like money controls your life, or you're in charge of money? Do you feel like probably when you don't have money, do you feel more anxious? Do you even dread not having money? How does it make you feel? That shows whether you have abundance or scarcity mindset. Because people who have abundance mindset, even when they don't have, of course, they will just be asking themselves, what can I do? Instead of probably worrying and feeling stuck and everything. It's like they always have solutions because they are abundance. It's not just something that is outside of them. It's something that is within them. They're able to build back like Job. You go through all those devastations and then you're able to build back. And it's because Job had an abundance mindset, even when he's saying, though he slays me, yet I will trust him. That is abundance. You just don't say that out of nowhere when your health is falling apart. You've lost everything and everyone. And then you're like, though he slays me, yet I will trust him. That confident hope and confident faith comes from abundance. But some of us probably, we even don't have enough because we are fearing so much to even lose the little we have. And so you're always working on preservation. You're always working on, just staying on the same level, but you're not thinking about creating abundance out of what you have. And so I hope we've rated ourselves on how we are doing commercially. That has to do with your money beliefs, and that can reflect in your abundance or scarcity in terms of how you live your life. And then E is emotional. Emotional. And emotional has to do with how are you doing in your emotional health, in your emotional. Do you feel like probably you struggle more with winters, emotional winters, than summers? In a way, your emotional space, how does it look like? How do you live in that space? How do you probably feel about yourself in terms of how you're doing? When you look at yourself, for example, in the recent past, like let's say this first quarter that has ended of 2024, how have you been doing emotionally? Do you feel emotionally in charge of your life? Have you struggled more with negative emotions in quotes? And of course, we have emotionally bold woman. I will encourage you to probably consider taking up that journey. If this is an area you're struggling with, just reach out and chat. Then we'll probably point into that direction, because there's sometimes you may also go through so many winters in a way your identity is modified. And it's like you've lost yourself. It's like you are really living on bare minimum and you've learned to be comfortable with that. You don't think about your emotional abundance in terms of just being able to live in this space where you are creating that abundance in terms of emotional space. So do you feel aligned in your emotional life? If not, probably you'll give yourself a low score. So give yourself a score in terms of how you're doing. And then socially has to do with the quality of your relationships. And I think one of us on the chat, we alluded to that in terms of sometimes we have stressful friendships. And of course, they really agitate our lives and we are already going through a difficult situation in another place. Some of us, probably you have difficult relationships in terms of even your marriage. It can actually lower your social scores because it really affects your other relationships as well. Sometimes it can also be your family of origin. Maybe you have turbulent relationships with your parents, with your siblings, with your other relatives. Or maybe it's even your workplace in terms of your colleagues or your boss. You have difficult relationships with key people in your life, and that can really suck life out of you. In a way, you are not feeling aligned. That is why I was talking about, do you even have people you're not aligned with? Those are the people that probably you should seek alignment with. And some of us, we have some relationships we've been avoiding. Some of us are not assertive in terms of being able to speak up and just say, I don't like this. I don't enjoy this. I don't like how you talk to me. I don't like how you treat me. I don't like this. Like, you're not able to speak up and to be able to share your birth, to set boundaries with people, and to just share your preference of how you'll want to interact. Some of us also have difficult relationships in terms of maybe I am the difficult person, and maybe I need to change my perspective of how I see my situation so that it can change. That is where sometimes going for therapy or for coaching session, having a different perspective can also help you see yourself differently. Because some of us, until we change, those relationships are not changing and they're not going anywhere. We'll just keep on having those agitations. And some of us, probably, we also have these relationships that are difficult and everything, but you just need to have a conversation. Stop avoiding. Face it squarely, head on, and allow yourself to come and just say, like, we need to resolve this, we need to talk about this, and just start somewhere. And so I don't know where you are in any situation that has to do with your relationships, but you can just explore which people do you think about and you even feel dread. It shows that those are the people that you need to resolve things with. All right, and so I want us to share on the chat which areas, at least 3 areas, do you feel like probably there is not an alignment in your life among the 6? Is it spiritual? Is it physical? Is it intellectual? Is it commercial? Is it emotional? Is it social? So I hope you've listed them down. Which places don't you feel aligned in your life? I want us to share on the chat. You can just type quickly in terms of, I feel not aligned spiritually, or I feel not aligned physically. Just 3 areas, 3 random ones that you're feeling like, yeah, there's something here I need to explore a bit more. So just share what it is for you. Which areas don't you feel aligned? Even as we have this conversation, you are more aware that you need alignment in that. Let's share on the chat. I can see our time is almost up, so we'll just get it up to here, and then we will continue next week. Where don't you feel aligned in your life? Spiritual, physical, intellectual, commercial? Yeah, let's keep sharing. All right. Yeah, thank you. Stella has shared commercial, intellectual, and social. That is why she's not feeling aligned. And then Grace has shared intellectual, social, and emotional. That is why she's not feeling aligned. And then Tracy has shared physical, commercial, and emotional. That is why she's not feeling aligned. Thanks for sharing. Keep the chats coming. And then Bosibori, intellectual, commercial, and emotional. That is why she's not feeling aligned. And then Catherine has shared mine is emotional, intellectual, and commercial. That is why she's not feeling aligned. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Kathy. Anyone else? Before we call it a morning? Yeah, and Rose has shared commercial, social, and intellectual. That is why she's not feeling aligned. Yeah, and you see right now we are trying to point out the areas we will focus on and concentrate on as we have this conversation on the next Mondays that are coming, so that you'll be aware these are the places where I'm trusting God for miracles in terms of this is where it fell, like that Acts conversation. Yeah, and then we also have Patricia, emotional, intellectual, and physical. That is why she's not feeling aligned. Yeah, thank you, ladies, for sharing. And of course, even as we think about our week and our day, just keep on asking yourself. I want you to journal, first of all, about this on these areas. Journal. And journal means that you write down exactly how you feel, what is happening. I usually recommend you use this project management tool of the 5, we usually call them 4 wives of 1 husband. You know, why, where, what? Yeah, what is happening? Why am I feeling not aligned? What exactly is not aligned? And where is it not aligned? And who is also involved in the lack of alignment? And then now, of course, how? How am I not aligned? So just think about those project management questions. You can just go and look them up in terms of anytime you're doing a project, you need to first of all ask, why am I doing this project? What exactly am I doing? Where will I do it? Who am I doing it with? And how will I do it? And so go and figure out those spaces. And then, of course, when you think about these three areas, just journal about them in terms of, I feel so stuck in my, probably in my intellectual space. I don't feel like I am probably where I should be in terms of my profession. I feel like I'm not utilizing my brilliance. This job opportunity doesn't bring out the best in me. Like, be able to, vent in a way about the places where you're feeling stuck and exactly what is happening. And so I would encourage you to journal. That is your assignment for the next 7 days before we meet here again. Go and journal about where you're stuck and exactly what is happening. Where am I stuck? What is happening? And then, of course, we shall be now having this conversation to pick up in terms of what needs to align. But thank you for joining the conversation this morning. I can see it's 8:01. We will just call it a day there. And I want you to probably share on the chat before you leave, what is your take home from today's session? What is your take home from today's session? Maybe a statement you've heard that has made a lot of sense to you, something you've realized, something that probably you've noticed about yourself. Let's quickly share on the chat. What is your take home from today's session? What has stood out for you? Which part of this conversation is making sense to you in terms of your alignment journey? Yeah, let's share that. So I'm going to play some music, the one that we were played initially, and it's actually a song on alignment. And I was sharing, like, for me, this is a very personal song because there are seasons in my life that I was probably really, really, really struggling on alignment because I was going through transition. And this song was my pickup. Like, this song, the way you hear a song and you're like, this is it. This is it. This is huyu mtu amejuaje story yangu, like the words and of course the vibe around it. So I'm just going to share that and then you will leave your chat on the response. I still want to read like what has been impressive for you today. The reason we usually ask for this feedback, it's because it helps us know like which part of the conversation was helpful. And of course, also to be able to know like what was impressive to you. It usually helps to build up our next conversations and sessions. So leave out something on the chat. So Carol say, I was reminded of the tools of coaching and therapy that have been very helpful at different times. Yeah. Thank you, Carol. And Jennifer is saying, pointing out exactly where I'm not aligned. That has also been impressive for you. And Grace said, I've been helped to connect one malalignment to other zones of alignment. That is a great eye opener. And Catherine is saying, financial stability starts from the mind, not how much you have. Absolutely. So let me share the song. The rest of us can keep on sharing. Excuse me. Oh. Yeah, thank you. My kiddos are here. They are helping me get through the morning. All right, so let me share the song and then let's keep sharing on the chat. I really love this song.
High above, hold so many things, Jesus. Oh, no other name could hold so many things. Oh, Jesus. You go before, I know that you've even gone to win my war, and you come back with a head of my enemy. You come back, but you call it my victory. Yeah, Jesus, only Jesus. Sing, you go before, I know that you've even gone to win my war, and you come back with the head of my enemy. And you come back, but you call my victory. And all I did was praise. And all I did was worship. And all I did was bow down. All I did was stay still. And hallelujah, you have saved me. It's so much better this way. And hallelujah, great defender. It's so much better your way. You know before I do where my heart can sing to find your truth. Mercy is the shade I'm living in, and you restore